Alright, how you doing? It's me back again. I know it's been a long time since I made a video, but I'm just coming back again because a lot of stuff is happening. But yeah, because of the time lapse, I've had time to read some books, and I want to review two books right here. Alright, basically they're both talking about white supremacy. This one right here, Everything You Love Will Burn by Vegas Tenode, talks about the old school groups like the KKK, skinheads, blah, 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 blah. The ones that exist out in real life. And then you have this one right here, which I also read. Here it is. Right? Making Sense of the Alt-Right. Basically, white supremacist groups that's basically went online. Basically. And so I want to kind of compare these two basically because pretty much this is the old and this is the new. So it's kind of a continuum. And basically they pretty much show how white supremacy has not gone away. The old school form and the new school form. Because this is just a continuation. This right here, alt-right, is nothing but the old school white supremacists online. So I'm just going to compare the two because, quite frankly, right now, even though I'm recording this like about a month after the election and Donald Trump has lost, that feeling of outrage and alienation is still there in America. And I don't think, even though he lost, I don't think it's going to go away anywhere. It's probably going to come up in some new group, like just like we had the Tea Party when Barack Obama first came in. We'll have some other party, and even though that party was kind of like older people, and then the alt-right was like for younger white supremacists, it's still there. You know, a lot of people try to be like, oh, okay, well, you know, white supremacy, that's the old generation. But alt-right proves, hey, it's not. That it's still here, that it's being passed on to the next generation over. And then the old school way, as you can see, as I detail in this book, it's still here. And that even though that this popped up, an extension of this, basically they're pretty much one and the same. And yeah, basically we have multiple white supremacy. So I'm just going to talk about it and state how, you know, basically Donald Trump just manipulated this and the outrages that was going on to get to presidency. So, all right, first one, Everything You Love Will Burn. Okay, this is by Vegas Tenode. I believe he's from Norway. And basically, for about a couple years, he went on, like, it's kind of like immersion sociology, where the scientist actually goes and lives amongst the people, where he's like a reporter. So it's kind of like a reporter and a scientist immersing themselves in the movement. So basically he went around and he hung out with and went to rallies with and interviewed people from like the KKK, the Workers' Right Party, Nazis, skinheads, all the, you know, undesirable people and stuff, you know, who go around beating up people, pretty much spawned Timothy McVeigh and Dylan Ruth and, you know, very much probably like the guy Cal Rittenhouse and all the rest of them crazy out here. And basically, the main person that he followed was Chris Heimbach from the Workers' People's Party. And it pretty much showed how during the time that him and another guy called Mark Schopp, who was for the National Socialist Party, and other people tried to make a coalition of all these white supremacists, traditionally old school, in the streets, beat you up, white supremacist groups. And it's so tripped out. It really shows how they are basically a bunch of malcontents and just dysfunctional people and undesirable people. And and you know, he shows how Heimbach, Schopp, and others are basically demagogues. You know, they're trying to basically get power for themselves by feeding on the fact that a lot of people that they run in these groups are just, they're kind of the losers, and people who just can't function in society, you know. And of course, it all culminates in the Unite the Right rally in Richmond, Virginia in 2017. Yeah. And shows how, and then his main person that he followed was Heimbach, and it shows how he, you know, he may have talked a good game about, oh, white rights and this and that, but at the end of the day, he was nothing but a demagogue, and that he would do anything, and that he talked a lot of stuff about changing the world and this and that. At the end of the day, he would do anything to get power, keep power, and stuff. You know, he even shows how he tried to get in league with Richard Spencer from the alt-right, to try to elevate himself, but it wasn't happening. Richard Spencer was not dealing with that, you know. So, and then another side note on Matthew Heimbach, it's funny how, because after Unite the Right, all of these groups like really went into decline. They lost their jobs because people saw them on the internet. Family disowned them. And even him, Matthew Heimbach, he got into a dispute because apparently he was having an affair with like his stepdad's wife, or like his old stepdad's wife or something, new wife or something. It was basically a reality TV show, and that shows you what the content of the character. Because here's the loser getting to some talk show, dysfunctional reality show stuff, and he's supposed to help people and stuff. So that's this book. All right. Then you have this one, Making Sense of the Alt-Right. Okay. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier that Richard Spencer, he was the leader of the alt-right. It goes very much into detail how, like, even that these traditional racist, people were already on the internet back in the 1980s, like the early 1980s. It shows how, how Richard Spencer kind of perfected, recruiting like malcontents and other people. So, but they do it in a way that's kind of higher than the traditional, KKK and all these other skinhead groups and stuff like that. How they try to be scientific with their racism, or they detailed a guy from the Renaissance group who basically is scientific racism and tries to wear suits and ties and come up with facts in this study and that study to prove the inferiority of non-white people. And how their main thing is not only to be like a more polished version of it, but also they're anonymous. See, Richard Spencer, he's the face of it, but then most of the people are online and they're anonymous, and they hide behind these internet identities. And then also they're indirect with it, because the main thing that they do is that they use humor. You know what I'm saying? Like they troll people online. And then they come with the internet memes like Pepe the Frog and stuff like that, and they try to, I'm making a joke, I'm not being racist. With the usual thing when some racist person comes up, they make I'm not racist, and then they make a racist joke. So it's an extension of that, but online. Okay? So they hide behind the humor. And then, of course, in real life, you have people like Richard Spencer. You also have that guy, the gay guy, I can't remember his name, sorry, I'm having a brain fart, but Giannopoulos, I believe his name is, and other people who, are out here in the media, and they're the open face, and they tend to try to wear business suits and this and that, but at the end of the day, they're still racist just like these guys. It's just they just wear suits. These guys wear t-shirts, and they're the chips and beer crowd. Okay? These guys are the wine and cheese crowd, but they're still racist. And they're doing kind of the same thing as these guys right here, but they just have more sophistication class, and they're doing it online. And then it also talks about how a lot of these people have been basically exposed, That's something called doxing, where they get all your documentation and publish it. They find out who you are, get pictures of you, find out where you was born, this and that, and publish that online. So a lot of people have tried to do this but have failed, And then also eventually, these guys started holding rallies, just like these guys, but these guys hold rallies out in the woods somewhere or state capitol. These guys, because they tend to be, these guys, because they tend to be a little bit more college educated and white collar, they have their rallies basically on college campuses. But eventually they get run away and stuff. So that's another thing. And basically this is, the same old thing. American racism, you just have, going from this, and this is basically an update of this just online, using, instead of just being out there and forward like these guys and saying, well, using racial slurs and kill all these people and send them back to where they came from and da-da-da. These guys are use dog whistles, a little bit more dog whistles, use elevated language. They're more cold. They didn't be veiled, but they're a little bit more covert, a little bit more polished and stuff, and hiding behind humor and hiding online, so. And I really bring this up because, quite frankly, Donald Trump is the culmination of, quite frankly, the white supremacy that's always been here, but with a combination of the fact that, well, people aren't doing so well, because like with the Great Recession 2008 and recessions before that, basically a lot of the white collar jobs, the jobs with unions and that have benefits and stuff, a lot of those with the Great Recession disappeared. They dropped out. And what they were replaced with, we have new jobs, but they were replaced with retail, service industry, low paying jobs. And a lot of people are like angry with that economic situation because a lot of people are just not doing so well as they used to. Back in the day, like my parents' generation before that, you didn't have to get a college degree to get a decent job with decent money and and benefits, and job security and stuff. But now all that is basically gone away. We got the gig economy, which basically is outsourcing work for these big companies. And they're in a very precarious position. And a lot of people are mad at that, Because, like the racism, that's always been here. Anger at non-blacks achieving, immigrants coming in and achieving. That's always been the way with this country and the majority of the people in this country. That's nothing new. But, the economic precariousness, that's something we haven't seen in a long time. This is actually old. It's something that happened, we saw at the turn from the 19th to the 20th century. But that was also a time where we had like a lot of unions coming in and getting people rights and stuff. That was the time of robber barons. A lot of times they called them captains of industry, but no, they were, it was pretty much just like the guys now, just trying to increase their profits and decrease their expenses. And we're going through that right now. And also combining with that economic position, precarious economic position, we have what I call the reality TVization of our culture. Basically, it's the lowering of the standard. I can't really say that was really high, but it's way lowering of the standard. Because, of course, reality TV, there's no art to it. It's exploitation entertainment to the extreme. It appeals to the lowest common denominator, but like put that like on not just steroids, but like hyper steroids and stuff. And honestly, most people, whatever time we lived in, pretty much like exploitation stuff. You're gonna get more people going towards more exploitative stuff than highbrow stuff. Lowbrow always sells. Highbrow sells to has a very small market. Lowbrow, their market is infinite. There's no barrier to it. But like I said, everything just is the standard just is dropped. And when you have that standard dropping, right, where you have more negative stuff in the media, you don't have as many uplifting stories. You don't have as many positive stories. All you see is this negativity, negativity, negativity. It has culminated in a thing now where the fools run the show. Just the other day, some blonde woman was on, I don't know how, but she got to testify in front of the Congress, and she was so ridiculous, yeah, she was seen as some hero. It's like, who gave her the mic, and it culminated in Saturday Night Live doing a sketch making fun of her, of how ridiculous she was, and these are the people who, like, at the family reunion, you tolerate that family member, they get on the mic and someone goes, who go? And they quickly take the mic away from them or just turn it off because they know, hey, this is the fool of the family. Don't give them the mic. Don't even let them near the mic. Who gave them the mic? Take them out. Now, instead of that person being pushed back to the background, they're like, okay, whatever. We're going to put our best foot forward. Instead, we're putting our worst foot forward now. And that's what happens, The fools, they have a hero now. And Donald Trump is not the first one. Let's be real. It all started with Sarah Palin. That's what I really believe. Because basically the fools had a hero. Okay? Before anybody even near the presidency had to be presidential. You had to have manners. But once she came up, then the fools were like, whoa. If this person who acts just like me can get that close, then I can too. I don't have to change. I can still be a damn fool, And she lost, but it kind of primed the way for Donald Trump, So then when he came on, Donald Trump is really, let's just be real, he's a used car salesman, He will tell you whatever it is to get the car off the lot. And, he just happened to have media skills. He's been a long time. And, you have this lower standard. Then you have people hurting, Then you already have a person, who they can look up to, who got close. And, of course, it just kind of steamrolled into, And he used and even though it's tripped out, he used the whole thing of like, oh man, I'm fighting the deep state or I'm fighting the elites and stuff. But he is the elite. He's a third generation trust fund baby rich kid. And he was able to con people into believing that, hey, he's going to fight for you. He's going to fight against the deep state and elites, with their lattes and college degrees and multiculturalism and da-da-da. And, he didn't do a damn thing for people, like the wall. They just did a study now, found out that, hey, the wall, like 485 yards. 485 miles of the wall was worked on. And it turns out that 420 of that was actually repairs on the old wall. So only 65 new miles of wall was added along a border that's over 2,000 miles long. So he didn't do anything, He talks about the trade thing. I'm going to prove that. We actually added over $100 billion on the trade deficit. And then the only other thing he did was get the tax bill of neoliberalism, and a lot of people get tricked by the word liberal, but neoliberalism is actually conservative, and basically it makes the rich richer and the poor poor. Rich people still get big high tax breaks and this and that, and poor people they got to pay more. So they're getting taxed less, so they get more profit, and average person gets taxed more and their money goes down. So you have this brew of just this concoction where he can come in and try to take over. And he's not done. I believe he's going to try to come back in 2024. Hopefully that won't happen. If he does, hopefully he'll get defeated, but watch your back, because he only lost the first time to Hillary. He lost the popular vote. He only lost by 3 million. This one, I think the latest count, he only lost by 7 or 8 million. So he's not going anywhere. But most importantly, not Donald Trump, the anger that he was able to harness, the hopelessness and all that negativity and dysfunctionality that he harnessed, that he can exploit for political game, is still here. It's still here. It had been brewing a long time coming. He just harnessed it. Right? Now he's gone. It's still going to be here. And that's something that we have to, as a country, deal with and make him, we got to pull these people in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's half the country. It's half the country. So you just can't ignore this. You have to deal with these people. It's just like family. That person is ignorant and dysfunctional, and you have to deal with them. And we have to deal with them because half the country is not going to be leaving, and half the country is, is and will be heard. So it's going to be a long time dealing with this, and we have to deal with it very productively and bring those people back in and bring them off that edge. Because if we don't, then we're going to have a lot of division, and who knows? I mean, we might actually have a civil war. If not a civil war, things will be, because right now, we're not divided, we're not polarized, we're balkanized. And balkanized means basically when you're just totally separate, doing your own thing. Just like, Yugoslavia, right? And it's right in the Balkan Mountains, okay? And basically, Yugoslavia was just a confederation of different ethnic groups and stuff together, and they were being held together by slim thread. But of course, you saw in the early 90s, once that thread broke, you had war and you had atrocities, and now you have, I think the latest count is about 11 countries that formed out of the former Yugoslavia, and there's I think 2 or 3 more petitioning to become independent. So that's what we're looking towards, and then also, you have our enemies like Russia, using bots on the internet to divide people with fake, internet sites, and China might be doing it in North Korea. All our enemies are probably doing it right now. So we have to kind of bring it together, I mean, America has always been a heterogeneous, multi-racial, multicultural, multi-political, multi-everything. It's a heterogeneous country. We're everything. And we have to basically work to, stay together. And we're going to have to do a lot of work now. And one of those things is to bring these people who voted for Trump, who are angry, who are, who basically, that were right at or jumped off the edge, to bring them back in. Otherwise we will be hurt. And, we got to take this seriously, because right now, especially, you got a lot of militia movements out there now. Just recently, you have the Wolverine militia in Michigan. They tried to kidnap the Michigan governor, and they were going to execute her on TV, and they were going to take the Michigan state legislation, put them in the Michigan State House, and burn them alive. And they were planning on repeating that in Virginia. Then you have, people like the Boogaloo Boys. A guy out in Oakland, he shot a cop. And then another guy in Minnesota, also from the Boogaloo Boys, he shot up in the police station. And then you have, Kyle Rittenhouse from, Illinois, went up to Wisconsin and shot someone, and you have a lot of these, and that's really just an extension of the Bundys out in Idaho, Wyoming, when they had their standoff and all the militia people came and, stood up to the government, you know. And then the next year, they went over and took the wildlife preserve in Oregon. These militia, it's coming to fruition, And these militia moves have talked about destabilizing society. Okay, they've been talking about it for decades. And that's their plan to take over the country. And of course, all these, white supremacist militias, they basically, lend themselves to totalitarianism, dictatorship, fascism, authoritarianism, especially fascism, because, we are fascism co-ops, business industry, corporate industry, and we're about making money here. So, yeah, that's something that they planned on doing for decades, and we are in that moment where that can happen, where they have half the country are sympathetic to Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys and the Wolverine Militia and the Oath Keepers and the 3%ers and 1%, all those militia groups, and yeah, they are out there, and the Wolverine Militia is not the only one that's going to try to take over, or the Bundys, out west are not the only ones who are going to try to take over a government at some level. If not the federal, then the state. If not the state, then county. If not the county, then local at a city, or even a ward of a city. They're going to try. They're out there, and they have a huge half of the country is sympathetic to them. So we have to. They're always going to be idiots. So they're going to do their thing. The government, they've known about them and they've decided not to do anything about it. But they go after Black Lives Matter protesters who are demanding that, hey, Black Americans get their rights. I can see how, they may think, oh, okay, well, they're white, so they're no problem. Or they're white supremacists, so they're like the other side of the coin. No, these people they don't care. They're about power. And they don't care who they have to kill. And as proof, you've seen how a lot of these, because Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan was white. The cops that these guys killed, I believe they were white. The one that was shooting at in Minnesota. Kyle Rittenhouse, I think 2 out of 3 people that he shot were white. So, we're looking at, potential chaos going to happen here. And the best way to do it is to, bring in the half of the country that voted for Trump. The people that would be sympathetic to idiots like Trump and Sarah Palin and these goddamn militias. You have to give them something. We have to improve the the financial situation. Give people more economic security. More stability. Okay, once you do that, I've heard a lot of people, like I was watching Bill Maher, and one of the guests said, we have to have a Marshall Plan for America. And those who don't know about the Marshall Plan was used after World War II, and basically what it was a plan to rebuild Europe. And so a lot of money was put in there, a lot of rebuilding. American contractors went over there, rebuilt Europe, rebuilt the infrastructure, rebuilt all the different institutions and stuff, gave them loans, etc., to get the economic and infrastructure and get Europe going again. Well, I totally believe that. We do have to have some type of economic Marshall Plan for people and give them, good, stable job, to have jobs that, have a decent wage, have stability, have medical benefits, retirement benefits, give people economic stability again. And once you do that, and people are not on the margins trying to, you literally got people out here having 2, 3, 4 jobs trying to piece together, just to survive. And that's common. You have people out here who are living, with college loan debt, not even working in industry where they're, that they got the degree in. working at, like we there was a joke, pretty soon we're gonna have PhDs working at Mickey D's. That has literally become true. So now you got a person with this crappy job, and then they got debt. So now, so whether you're working class or, the diminished middle class or want to be middle class, you're just in a bad situation, you know, period. And they need to change that, get people working again with a decent job and stuff, and maybe do some psychological healing, and stuff. Have people talk to people, and, maybe not so much, put this, multicultural thing, but definitely start teaching toleration. And not only, the whole racial toleration like we've been teaching about, but also toleration of politics. You have a whole spectrum here. Even though we have two major parties, liberal and conservative, Democrats, Republicans, we do have moderates, and we do have radicals. We have the whole spectrum here. We need to start, teaching toleration of that. And basically, I know I'm kind of rambling on, but America has a lot to do. And if they don't fix these problems right now, what we saw at the beginning of the Trump presidency will definitely not explode, but implode. And, this country would be very much weakened and make us vulnerable to people, not just Russia or even China. I mean, whoever. It could be anyone, that can come in and just feast on us, because we're already divided. And when you're divided, you're easier to conquer. And then next thing you know, we lose our status. Number one country. Next thing you know, whoever, China, Russia, India has a lot of potential. Brazil is trying to come up. A lot of countries, or one of the European countries, one of the other first world countries, that's aspiring, can jump into the position that the U.S. had and take over. And then, next thing you know, we balkanize and break up, because it's a big country. It's a lot of people, a lot of land, okay, with a lot of diversity in it. Okay, so it's very easy if, we're being held together by a thread, that thread unravels, next thing you know, we'll be just like Yugoslavia and have a whole bunch of countries coming out and be, just like Yugoslavia, they're very culturally, religiously, geographically similar, but like I said, it's a very mountainous region, and they had differentiated, and they went their own separate ways. And the same thing can happen here if we don't get our stuff together, So, yeah, I just wanted to say that, about how this is something that can be, this white supremacist, and then these both groups running around online and in real life and forming militias and trying to take over the government, and you have demagogues like Donald Trump becoming president. He should be nowhere near power. He's worse than King Joffrey on Game of Thrones. Just like he should never been nowhere near power, so should Donald Trump. That was a disaster. But hopefully, America will get over it. We'll come together. Hopefully Joe Biden or someone else behind him, and at different levels, at the federal, state, local level, we can come and mend these things and do a little bit better and stay together. Otherwise, so, all right, that's my 2 cents, and thank you for watching.